even if the guy seems like a loser that she's taking care of, well, there's some psychological benefits she's getting from taking care of that loser, right? Let's look at what sex is to a girl and what it means to her. It doesn't mean the same thing to you. So in fact, let's just go right into this little slideshow I got for you guys. We're going to do this dead bedroom and hypergamy thing. All right. That's what we're going to cover. Now, there's been, of course, there always seems to be these claims and recent claims. Hypergamy doesn't play a role in this. And there's some interesting questions brought up about that. I've heard comments from people who have listened to other like content creators and whatever that have said, well, I don't think hypergamy plays a role in the dead bedroom thing. And they've brought up some interesting questions. And I have answers for that today too. All right. But let's get into this dead bedroom thing. All right. So here's the thing. First, I want to start off with this. This information will save marriages, save somebody's life. It doesn't matter whether you're like a traditionalist Christian person, whether you believe in marriage, don't believe in marriage, or any of that stuff. If you're going to have a long-term relationship, this information I'm going to share is going to save it and save you, because sexual frequency and quality is one of the number one markers for a relationship being able to stay together and be happy and be at a peak level of happiness, throughout the course of that relationship. We'll say most of the time. I mean, there's peaks and valleys, ups and downs, but, for a relationship to last, past the 2-year mark, past those honeymoon phases into building a life together, and to do that for 10, 20, 30 years, sexual frequency and sexual quality is a marker for that, a measure for that. Generally speaking, if it's a sexless marriage, or a low sex, low libido marriage, the quality of that marriage is down, and it correlates directly with the divorce rates, which women at 75%, are the ones who are filing those, right? So we can say objectively, and women might not like it, but objectively, truly, it is their system and the way that their desire works. That is the downfall of the sex in a relationship, generally speaking. Not to say that guys aren't responsible too. It takes two to make it work, but it's generally the girl. All right. That's an unpopular thing, but I don't care. That's also the truth. That being said, though, I'm going to break down why it is, and you'll see that it's not because women are terrible and like all this. It's not really a negative thing it's not negative or positive. It just is. And you'll see that it's not necessarily an intentional or divisive thing, although it can be at times. That's not what it is. So this isn't a slam on women for, not doing their sexual duty kind of a show. All right. We're going to talk about drives and emotions and neurochemical responses and hormones and why it all works like that. Now I want to break into, though, universal law of female selection. Look, female sexual selection. Hypergamy is a thing. Okay, it's a thing, and it's an important factor in relationships. It's not the only factor, though. I think too much weight gets put on hypergamy sometimes, because it is important, but it's not the only thing. A lot of you guys, your understanding of how women sexually select is pretty well skewed to platitudes and binary statements. You actually don't understand. You think you understand how women work. You actually don't. And so I hope to help you with that a little bit. Hypergamy is not the only driver. It just happens to be a very important one. There's other drivers in place when women are selecting for mates, or when women have desire or attraction for sex or desire for their partners. I'm going to present to you something a little different. I've talked about it before. We can call this the universal law of female sexual selection. This is, if you need let's say, a guiding principle, this is a better guiding principle than some of the other things out there, including to include hypergamy. And I say that just because women have sex with guys all the time who are not their hypergamous best for different reasons, right? And so then it makes people think, well, hypergamy then isn't true or real. Well, no, it's true, and it's true in a sense that it's a driver, it's a thing that drives their sexual decisions, but it's not the only thing that drives sexual decisions. And we look at what David Buss's work on why women have sex, and you have hundreds of different reasons why women have sex. Hypergamy, or it's the best, mostest high value man I can find, that's only one of a few hundred other reasons women have sex. When we look at that, it tells us, okay, it doesn't mean that hypergamy is not true. It just means that hypergamy is a driver amongst other motivational factors, right? Other things that would motivate them to have sex. So this is more of a universal law if you need one. And it kind of is somewhat derived from Briffault's law. So Briffault's law states the female, not the male, determines all the conditions of the animal family. Where the female can derive no benefit from association with the male, no such association takes place. So in other words, the females tend to be the sexual selectors because they have the eggs, they have the babies, right? So they're the ones who are going to try to control and decide who they're sexually selecting, and they're driven that way because they're the ones who have to protect their womb, so to speak, and this is where hypergamy fits in, have sex when they're ovulating and getting pregnant with, the best option for a pregnancy, both, genetically and also opportunistically with who they could keep around to be able to take care of, that baby or that offspring, right? So what they're looking at though is they're the ones who determine the conditions because there's the selectors, tend to be the selectors, all right? And if the female can't derive a benefit from having association with the male, then she will not associate with him. There's no reason for her to associate with that male unless there's benefits for her doing so. And so it seems it's really not that profound of a statement. It kind of makes sense. Why would she have males around if there's no perceived benefit? Even if the guy seems like a loser that she's taking care of, well, there's some psychological benefits she's getting from taking care of that loser. When we look at it at sex and sexual selection like this, in terms of benefits and risks, rewards, and consequences, that really can open your eyes into understanding how women sexually select, right? And so my version of not Briffault's law, but my way of sort of illustrating it, which may change over time as I get better with how I want to word it. But, a woman's decision to have sex is a pragmatic risk reward equation. When the reward or advantages of sex are perceived as higher than the risk or consequences, she will mate. When the risk or consequences are perceived as greater than the reward or advantages, willing sex, right, will not occur. So that is your guiding principle. If it benefits her, you have to understand it's all perceptions. So in the moment, if she perceives advantages or benefits, which could include sexual gratification, which could include, feeling good sexually, having orgasms, that could be part of the benefits. Okay. So this is not a transactional versus desire conversation. All right. When they're sexually selecting and their desire, it's all emotion based. They don't have checklists like you guys think they do, where it's like, oh, this is the alpha fucks guy, this is the beta pays guy. I'm gonna have sex with them due to all of these good reasons to have sex with them. That's not how it works. I swear, I think some of you guys literally think that's how they think. They don't. No woman thinks like that. All right. They just feel like they want to have sex and they feel sexually open, or they don't feel like it. That's how it works. But what plays the role of whether or not they're going to feel like it and that switch is going to flip on for them, or whether that switch is going to stay off for them. Which one that happens to be, there's going to be a bunch of factors playing a role. And what it adds up to is, if she perceives not having as high of a benefit and not having as high of a reward for the sex versus the risk or consequences of the sex, then what ends up happening is she has less sex, or she doesn't want to have sex. Okay. We'll get into how this fits in with marriage and stuff like that, and how it fits in with hypergamy, or where hypergamy fits in.